Well, hello, and welcome to the MilVet Podcast. Your podcast hosts are Brendan Aronson, Tim Shaw, and Beau Higgins. We are military veterans, entrepreneurs, and investors. But most importantly, we strive to empower military service members, veterans, and their families. We believe that all veterans deserve a career that fires them up, a career in which you can learn, you can earn, and you can build a world-class network. On this podcast, we interview civilian and military veteran leaders who are incredible founders, writers, thinkers, and investors. My primary goal is to inspire you to achieve great things. Let's dive into today's episode. Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of the MilVet Podcast. I'm your host for the day, Beau Higgins, and I have the pleasure today to be joined by Dev Chandra, and we'll talk a little bit about what Dev is doing these days. Again, thanks for tuning in. For those that may not be aware of what the MilVet is, the MilVet does, the MilVet provides basically an executive pathway for veterans to get into venture capital and private equity backed roles. We also provide some great thoughts on transition, have some podcasts, have some resources for veterans. So if you're in the transition mode, want to learn more about private equity venture capital, we'd love to have you sign up at the website, themilvet.org, to learn more about us. And if you're a company looking for veteran talent, we'd love to talk to you about how we can do that. But today, back to our podcast guest. And Dev, great to have you here. And tell us a little bit about what are you doing today, first and foremost?
Yeah, so today I am like in my schedule, or just like what am I doing right now?
Not today, like in general. What are you doing?
These
days?
So right
days,
now,
yeah.
Okay. I was like, what we're doing is, so I'm building startup intros. So I'm the founder and CEO, and it's a company to help early stage founders find and win the right VCs. We're also helping them with other parts of the process, such as like improving, their actual ideation, how they navigate through the market, but just all the tools that early stage founders need to succeed. I think it's like the way to think about it is like we're putting an incubator level worth of education into an app. So
sounds great. And I can't wait to talk about it more. And the one thing I will tell you from having talked to a lot of founders the last few days is a lot of people have the idea. Not many of them will take the leap. So how do you get them to jump is the biggest push out there. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But I really want to kind of dig in a little more though to how you got to here. And I think that's what folks on the podcast want to get into the founder space or into the PEV space want to understand. How did this journey begin for you? And let's go back to the beginning, even before the military. Yeah. I mean, you weren't a Naval Academy guy. You weren't in the military right out of high school. You went to college and then decided after that. What was kind of the formative years of you college wise to kind of get you on the beginning of this journey?
Yeah, I was talking about growing up, my parents got me a model aircraft carrier. And that got me into nerding out on ships and planes. And I really was into history and just engineering and stuff. And I was just fascinated by these ships and stuff. And so I actually started applying to Naval Academy. And then halfway through, I decided to not, because I didn't think I was cut out for it. But also my parents are having Indian parents growing up, it's very kind of taboo to join the military. So I decided to go to Johns Hopkins, did mechanical engineering. And then from there, my junior year, I met my Navy recruiting chief. So he sold me on the nuclear propulsion program. And so I applied for that and I got accepted my junior year. And then right after I graduated, I went to officer development school. So it's one for engineers and doctors, and then went right to work. I did nuclear engineering for a couple of years. Was stationed in DC for 6 years. So basically I did a 5-year contract. And then 3 years in, I switched into doing congressional affairs. So helping out our admiral navigate Congress and working on testimony and speeches and stuff, and trying to really just convincing Congress to get us to fund these ship construction, ship maintenance. And then I stayed in the Navy another year with the pandemic. And so basically at that point I was going to leave the Navy and before the pandemic, and I was going to I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go travel, go work on the blog. I started from reading the 4-Hour Work Week. I was like, I really want to be an entrepreneur. But then the pandemic hit. So then I was like, you know what? Let me stay in the Navy, play it safe. And then I started my MBA because I was like, okay, well, I have nothing to do. The pandemic hit, the GMATs are waived. So it's a good time to do an MBA. So I started my MBA from Carnegie Mellon. And so during the last year in the Navy, it was the first year of my MBA. I basically left the Navy. And then from there, I was like, I'm going to go full time into my business, work on my MBA, and then also travel. And then also be a reservist. So I did that for like the next 2 years, finishing up the MBA, turning my blog into a consultancy. And from there, basically, once I graduated my MBA, my business wasn't in the place where I was like super happy with it. I know this is a long story, but essentially I joined Booz Allen because I was like, all right, let me go do something meaningful with my MBA. Not a fan of what I was doing. Really good people, but just wasn't a good fit. And so worked at Booz for like over a year in Virginia Beach. And then after that, I just left and went right back into a business. AI automation was getting hot. So I started doing agency work for that, and that started growing. And that's what I was working on. Eventually I met Tim, Shah of Context Ventures at the Military Veteran Startup Conference. And from there, Tim convinced me to work on this new project, Startup Intros. So he brought me in as a EIR at Context, Entrepreneur in Residence. So I was at Context Ventures for a month. We incubated the company, funded it, and then now I'm switched over to being in Startup Intros. I still have like a very small role in Context where I help out with events and some mentorship and stuff like that. But my full-time job is CEO, founder of Startup Intros. So I guess that's the journey. Yeah.
That was the full story. We're going to go back and dig into some more of that. I think it's actually pretty entertaining that the reason the Navy got on your radar in the first place was Lego models. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's real. I mean, honestly, if I look back at it, that was probably really where it started because, I mean, they were just like got this Kitty Hawk as the USS Kitty Hawk aircraft carrier, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then, ever since I've been really. Like even I go on a ship now, like I'm a reservist engineering duty officer. So I'll do ship maintenance as my main thing when I'm on reserve duty. I was just in Japan on the George Washington. I'm still like, this is so cool that I get to be on this ship. It's huge. It's like, has like 100 aircraft when it's like fully loaded and out at sea. So it's still amazing.
It is amazing. Although I can say as a guy that spent some time as a welder in a shipyard, building them isn't that fun. It's pretty grim, but it is much better to be on them. I'll tell you that. But cool to have that spark at an early age just to know that ships were a thing. Although maybe it wasn't what your parents were enthused about going into college. But obviously you found a way to get there and to be a Navy nuke, which is that's no joke. I mean, I would love to kind of hear maybe the experiences you had in the military, because obviously you pivoted after college and went into the Navy, but you've taken that, and we'll talk more about all of this. But what experiences from going through your officer training or going through Navy nuke school or just being in the Navy in general have you been able to apply to what you're doing now? I mean, what do you feel any, is there any, connectivity between that experience making you successful in this space?
Yeah, I definitely think I knew for a long time. I mean, the people, I think the thing, obviously engineering school, the ships are super cool, but I think what I enjoyed about working in the military, being part of the military was the people. The people are really great people. You work with some of the best people, especially when I was in DC. I was out of shipyards, and like people have character, people have integrity. Like there's just a willingness to serve, a willingness to work on something bigger than themselves, and that's actually how I got back into what I'm doing now. It's because I was traveling. I was like, I really was building a business. It's fun, but it was like, okay, I want to do something more meaningful. I did bunker labs too, in there somewhere, but I really wanted to give back to veterans or find a way to, make it a point to really be involved in the veteran community. So that's where, I was doing the reserve stuff, but that's where when someone was, first I went to this conference called 10X Vets. It was like a Tampa retreat. but there were some people there. There was one of my mentors, Mike, that was going to be at the Military Veteran Startup Conference. I was like, oh, I'm going to go to that too, because I made it a point this year, actually, which is kind of nuts, this year to go to as many veteran events, be involved as many things as I could get myself to. So that's how I ended up here. And then Tim K, hey, like, this is what we're working on. He kind of painted the vision, and I was super excited about it. So that's where it all kind of came together. Yeah.
So you think for more? I guess what I'm hearing to be sure I'm clear is that, I mean, the engineering piece is fine. The technical piece, that's school. That's book learning, if you will. But what the Navy brought you was the people skills, the softer skills, just wanting to and finding a way to give back. I mean, I think it's just some of that sense of appreciation and wanting to do something more, with what you've been given. Is that fair to say?
I'd say that, and I guess, like, especially my role as a congressional affairs officer, like, seeing how what we do, like, really does matter. Like, like ships being out, protecting certain routes, or like, just like the roles we play in the world. So it definitely, it does, like, when you like, just everything kind of fits together. So I guess that's how to answer your question. Yeah. And it also did give me the people skills and because when the congressional role, it was more like interacting with people, translating engineering to like normal people speak, so it, I guess there's a lot there.
Yeah, definitely a lot there. And I think that is a gift, though, being able to take the complex and make it easy enough for the average person to understand, right? I mean, I think that's something that a lot of times you see is that, maybe you have these founders that are engineers and they know the technical stuff inside and out, but they can't explain it to, the Marine that writes in crayons. I want it very simple. Help me understand what you're saying. And they get frustrated because they're like, well, why don't you understand? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not as smart as you. I don't know. But I think having that ability to break things down and take the complex and to make it seem simple, although it is not simple, is a gift. And I think something you probably, is required probably in the startup world, in the founder world, because, your investors aren't going to be engineers. Your investors aren't necessarily going to be, geniuses, but they can understand a good idea if you can put it in language they understand. So being able to translate that is certainly something that it sounds like, your military time and working in OLA, working on the Hill, that's a place where everything is people, everything is relationships, right? That's what you probably learn.
Everything.
There,
even in startups and VC and PE, it's all relationships. I think, me being where I'm at and working with Tim, working with you, like the military veteran with Context Ventures, I would not be anywhere close to where I'm at if I didn't have these like amazing relationships with people to, that mentor me or like guide me or like connect me to other amazing people. So it's a huge part of it.
And obviously you took a little bit of a gap. Some fun for traveling, but some working at Booz. when you left the Navy off active duty, you were in business school, because you kind of, that's relatively a soft transition. How'd you know you wanted to get into the private equity space? Is that something you knew right away or as an early age, or how'd that?
I honestly, I fell into it.
Yeah.
That I fell into. So my so everything was kind of accidental. So really, like, my plan after the Navy, because I read 4 Hour Work Week and I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to go travel. Because unfortunately what happened unfortunately is I joined the Navy. I thought I would do a lot more traveling, but the role I went into, I was spent a lot of time in the continental U.S. as well as just a lot of time in Washington, D.C. because of, like, we are engineers. Our job is to really keep the fleet maintained, especially nuclear engineering. What we're working as the safety of the fleet, right? And a lot of them more so is at home, like that type of work. And so there's this kind of bug in me to like really travel because like a lot of my friends have traveled a lot, but it's like it was just something I wanted to do. So like and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh, I was kind of bummed out because now I'm like, okay, I was gonna leave the Navy. I was just gonna backpack and blog. The blog was growing. It was called The Process Hacker. So that's my original business. And like you can make a living off of a blog before like AI and stuff, like actually. And so that was what I was going to do originally. And then I was going to figure it out later. But then the pandemic hit. So then the world seemed like it was shut down. So the MBA was just like a natural move because it was something I've always wanted to do, but it wasn't like super pertinent, or it wasn't like the priority wasn't there until the pandemic hit, and then GMATs were waived, and the application to going to an MBA program got made so much easier, especially out of the top 5 to 10 schools. So that's why Carnegie Mellon is a remote program. I was like, this is my chance. I'm just going to do it right now. And that first year of the MBA was awesome because like in the pandemic, it gave me something to do because like everything was shut down. So we all hung out online in their MBA program. And how Carnegie Mellon's remote program works is every 2 months, you're supposed to go in person for like a weekend, but most of it's a hybrid program where it's like online. So so that first year, a lot of stuff was shut down. Carnegie Mellon wasn't having these weekends. So it was pretty easy to do while I was in DC, like, you know, while the pandemic was going on. And then the second and third year of the MBA, because it's a 3-year program, this is between 21 and 23. It was like, okay, well, this is a hybrid program. I only have to be back in the US for reserve duty and for the MBA weekends. So when I wasn't doing those, I'd be out, like I'd be in like South America or I'd be in like Europe or something. So yeah, that's essentially how that all happened. And then once I graduated, I figured I'd settle down and try something different because like, you know, why not? And somebody sold me on booze, and that's how it all happened with that. Yeah, which was not a good fit for me. But yeah.
It sounds like this was definitely not a planned journey. I mean, it made sense because of timing. It made sense. It wasn't something like you didn't like say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do 5 years in the Navy. I'm gonna go and get my MBA. Then I'm gonna be you know, whatever." It all kind of it seems pretty good. Like the path just kind of you saw opportunities. And you jumped on the opportunity at the right time, right place, made sense for you where you were. Yeah. Something that, you know, I mean, it just worked out timing wise to do what you were doing, which is great, which is pretty cool to see how that kind of, I mean, and I say that, but I do believe you have to be ready to make that take that opportunity when it comes, right? I mean, I think there's, you know, it's not just luck, right? You make your own luck in some ways. You're prepared to be able to make that jump by by kind of having your stuff together, saying, okay, when the opportunity comes, I'm ready to jump on it, by saying, I don't know, you know, and just to commit to it is the hard part. A lot of people want to do a lot of things, but again, can't take the next step to actually commit and make it happen. So good on you for making that happen, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely like saying yes to a lot of stuff. And I would say if someone is interested in VC, this is definitely not the path to take. Like, because I fell into VC where like if somebody came to me as like a junior officer and was like, hey, I want to be in VC, I'd be like, great. Like, you do your time, you get into the best school you could possibly get into, preferably Stanford or Berkeley or something, and then you do like, because it's already like it's pretty laid out. Like there's like a way to do it, but this was not the way to do it. So, yeah.
But the path. I mean, again, I think the path is, you're right. Go to a top level. Go to HBS. Go to a top level MBA school. Work on Wall Street. That's kind of in my head what you do, and then you get the industry experience, and then you can, when you have that under your belt, you can read a P&L. You can then move into be the operator in the VC space. It seems to be the way to do it. And I guess there is somewhat of a roadmap, but there's obviously a lot of people that are in the space that didn't take that roadmap, for sure, you know, and you're one of them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The other path is you become an entrepreneur, you grow a business, you go through the operator, like entrepreneur journey yourself, and then you exit, and then you have all this money, and people are like, oh, you're going to be good at investing because you built a successful startup. That's the other path I've seen. Yeah. But that one is not guaranteed by any
Definitely
means.
not. So, I think it's a lot less percentage of hitting on that one than the other. But but I guess it was the blog. I'm curious about the blog you had going too. So that's something you were able to monetize, and over time from something that was just, did it start as just a fun thing to do, and you have intentions of monetizing it from the start? I mean, 'cause obviously you then turned into a consulting business as well. Yeah. What was just to walk me through that. It sounds like you already had some type of entrepreneurial spark, even with that blog concept. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So before AI, blogs were like people read, like it was pretty common, like to have a blog, like because it took a lot of work. Writing is hard. Um, like it was, and also it was before YouTube was really a thing. Like blogs were huge back in like from like 2000 to even or like 20. I'd say, like in the 2000s to 2020, like blogs were big. Like Tim Ferriss's blog, or even Tim Shaw, like had a, like was a, like wrote columns and stuff. But like what you would do essentially is you would write about a specific niche. Like I was in the productivity and operations niche. I did a lot of book summaries, a lot of stuff on traction, leadership, right? But whatever niche you were in, you would eventually get enough search traffic from Google, and then you would go seek out partnerships. So for my space, like I was going after Notion, I was going after like to-do apps, like ClickUp, these tools. So basically what you do is you write an article on a productivity tool, and then if you rank high enough and people come to you and they go to the website of that tool, like let's say someone goes to my site, goes to Notion is now, and they sign up for Notion is now going to pay me an affiliate commission. And sometimes they're very lucrative with SaaS, because if I can, some of these are forever programs. So they might give you 30% or 20% forever, meaning like, and so that's how people made a living. Or like a lot of travel bloggers, a lot of my friends are travel bloggers, where they'll have affiliates for hotels or for like different travels or like restaurant, whatever, travel products, and then they get affiliates. So it was a way to make money before AI came in. With AI, what happened was a lot of people started just throwing all this garbage content out, and it was confusing the algorithm. People stopped reading too, that because video became very popular, but people also, a lot of written word is junk now, because and also the algorithms are not very good at ranking anymore because AI is confusing them. So essentially, I could be ranking number one for something one week, and back before the AI, like I could stay number one for a long time, and then I'll make a decent amount of money off that post. But now it's like I could be one week, I could be like on the second page of Google the following week. So now there's no consistency in the income. So it's like it's really hard to make it as a blogger, and that's why also these platforms like Substack, Beehive have become a thing, because that's the new way of monetizing writing. So yeah, it's a
That is, I mean, that was your foray into, I say,
yeah.
founder, your own, being an entrepreneur. I mean, in some ways, right? And you figured
more like content creator, like the creator entrepreneur,
which is, again, I think probably helped you in the next, or as part of the path going on. You had some idea of the space, and the tech space, obviously, we're familiar with. So you were, and how long did you turn that into a successful consulting company for a while? I mean, you call it a consulting company.
It was honestly, it was, I'll be honest, like, so that first stint, the first 2 years of me making it out on my own as an entrepreneur, like I made a lot of mistakes, and there was a lot of ups and downs. Like, and honestly, I don't think it was, I learned a lot, but it was, and I made money, but it wasn't like, I'm not making enough money where I'm like, oh, I could replace my income level. Like and travel is really cheap, especially go to South America. So like I was doing okay. But then when Booz came along, they definitely offered me more money than I was making in my consulting business. So for me, it was like, okay, this is the guaranteed paycheck. This is a legitimate consulting firm. Let me go figure out what they're doing. That's essentially like why I was like, that's why I pivoted. Because at that point, I was trying something for 2 years, wasn't getting anywhere. Maybe I just didn't have the right guidance, but that's how it got into that. And I was also, I think the other thing is like the people that really do well in consulting on their own are already experts in a specific area. And like I was somewhat of an expert, but I couldn't hone in on what I was an expert at, or really niche down on like the niche consultants make a lot of money, especially independently. So stuff I learned at Booz eventually, but yeah.
And during your time at Booz, were you already thinking about the next thing? I mean, it sounds like you were kind of using that as a place to learn. I mean, obviously a good experience, but you were learning about the business in some ways. And did you have an idea of what it would pivot into? That or any idea that would get you to where you were today, or just that you wanted to get into the private equity space, or kind of how the transition from
Yeah.
Booz get to where you are now? Yeah.
Yeah, so at Booz, like I knew, like I was still working on the blog and I was still working on my consulting on the side, and that's where I eventually like saw the AI automation opportunity like on the side. But like Booz, what really I learned at Booz was like what was crazy is because of what the government required or was wanting, and Booz was able to really Booz is really good because they're really good at writing proposals that the government wants to accept, and so
Yeah.
a lot of the work that Booz does is really not that hard. And what's funny is like in the private sector, companies would not pay what the government's paying for the same type of work. So like Booz was definitely doing this government type of arbitrage where they're able to win contracts that are not worth what they're worth in the private sector. And it's just like really easy. Like my job was really easy. Like it was not that hard. I think I didn't work that much. And I learned that I was like, wow, if I focus on government consulting at the time, it was like, oh, this is amazing. I should just go win some. Actually, it was like, actually got me thinking like maybe I should go for government stuff myself. But it wasn't fun for me because like I was working on stuff I just didn't enjoy. I wasn't working, like it wasn't stimulating at all. Like, and so like, that's why like on the side, I was just working on my AI automation agency because I was like, this is more fun. And I started growing up clients on the side. So like Booz taught me a lot, but it didn't like, I didn't learn a crazy amount, but I learned about how government contract and government consulting works. And that was really important because it gave me the confidence to go back on my own and I'm like, I'm going to make it. So it really like was just like, I feel like a holding period for me, which,
Yeah.
like
take
and also
a knee,
yeah.
take a knee, drink water, rest for a minute, kind of get yourself reorganized, and then refocus a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And they promised me to be in San Diego, which I should have held out on, where somebody convinced me to move to Virginia Beach, and Virginia Beach is just not it's not for me. Like,
yeah,
it's for certain people, but I should have just held out and just waited till a San Diego position opened up. But, I learned a lot about myself and that opportunity. So you learn. So
it's all a journey, and it all factors into where you get. So you did that for you. So I mean, what was kind of did you have a plan when you left Booz? There was something you wanted to specifically do, or just kind of like, I don't know what it is, but I know it's not this. I want to get into the PE space, and you didn't have an idea or a concept at that point, did you?
No, I did. Honestly, what VC was not even on my radar. Really, what happened was I was like, while I was stuck in Virginia Beach, because I was working on a government contract, I couldn't leave. So I really wanted to travel. So I still had some of the travel bug left. And I just wasn't a fan. Virginia Beach wasn't my type of place. So I was like, really just not a fan of everything, like not going to the office. Now, my business was like one source of like enjoyment, but it was just not for me. So then I was like looking at, okay, I'm going to go back to traveling, building something. So then I left Booz. I also spent like a couple months on the bench, just like not doing a whole lot, which wasn't very fun either. And then was like, I was going to leave Booz in like September, and I started traveling for 6 months. So then I went to Asia, which is one place I've always wanted to go. Like I've been to other places. There's a couple places left on my bucket list, but I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Asia. I'm going to build the business. And it was doing pretty good. My agency was growing. But then I came, and that's where I met Tim in San Francisco. And that's what got me into VC, because I literally came to this conference just to learn and just to meet people, because I thought it was more of an entrepreneur conference, but it was also an entrepreneur VC LP like GP LP type of conference. And I learned a lot about VC in that moment and like what people are building. And I'm working on really small stuff, but these guys are working on like, oh yeah, like you're like Booz is really big, obviously, but these guys, like when you're at the conference, they're like, oh yeah, we just won this couple $1 million contract, this and that. And it's just like, and I was just like, the scale was crazy, like what people are doing with such little resources. And I'm like, this is so cool. And then I met Tim. Tim sold me on coming to join him in SF and really work in the VC space and work on startup intros. And it was super exciting because I'm like, oh, this space is so exciting. AI is exciting. So yeah, it was just a perfect kind of,
That's awesome.
and that's how I literally dropped into it. It wasn't even planned.
It's a circuitous path you took, but again, it sounds like though it aligns with what your passion is. It aligns with what you want to do. I mean, it's just with your curiosity, I think, in just what you've always wanted. This space is a great one. Again, I think the thing that I see is that a lot of people talk about getting into it, but you have to at some point make that jump and commit to it, because it's not easy. I mean, it's exciting, it's fun, but there's no guarantee. I mean, it's a low probability of success if you look at across the board how many different projects get invested in and how many actually are successful. I mean, we hear all the great stories of folks that crushed it and made a fortune, but there's a lot more stories of folks that weren't successful for a host of reasons, whatever it may be. But again, I think it obviously was the right time, right place, right opportunity for you to jump in and join the Context team, and that led to where and how I guess let's talk a little bit more about what you're actually doing today and what that tool is, what the project is, and kind of what's the vision of that, and where it is today, and where you hope it'll go.
Yeah, I think overall what Tim is building and what we're a part of is like this kind of veteran ecosystem, right? With like the venture arms, the nonprofits, just as a place where like veterans helping veterans succeed, which I think it was super exciting to me. And then when we drill a little deeper, Tim's running Context Ventures, so it's a veteran fund specifically investing in military veterans. So like the companies I got to meet, just even in my first just at that conference, and was awesome. Like the military veteran Holden at Vetrify, and then these guys at Perspectives Health. So it was just, for me, I was like, this is so cool. I'm also learning a ton, like just having conversations with Holden, with Brendan, with other guys, and just the people are so good. Like one of my new friends here in SF is like a Navy SEAL, and and he's just like a cool guy. Like, and it's not like I would never think he was a SEAL, but we just like people I'm meeting through the community, just so cool. Like it's just awesome. So that's been great, and so when we drill down deep, it's like we're investing in veterans. The veterans we pick are really just good people. They really care about the country. They care about what's best for America. And it's the opposite. Like we care about each other. When I was in DC, the issue I have with Washington DC, not with the military culture, but with the general culture, is like when people talk about government policy or like they talk about like certain laws or something, they're like, oh, like I think this, like they act like, oh, this is because like it's more like because they have like it's more about their identity. It's like, oh, like instead of speaking of like, oh, this policy would be best for the country, it's like, oh, like it's like from a perspective of, this is the policy I wrote. This is like my mark on the government, right? And it's where in the veteran space, it's like people are genuinely like, hey, we want, like, I'm getting really good mentorship where we're helping each other. We're like really caring about the future of America. And so that's why I love this space, because I feel like I'm able to be part of something really cool. And then when we get even deeper, Startup Ventures is the incubation. So basically there's 3 incubations from Context. So it's the military veteran, which you're a part of. There's Vetrify, which is the bank we're building. And then there's Startup Ventures, which is a specific company designed to help emerging companies get funded. But also at the heart of it, like for me, I'm like seeing all these gaps of like, hey, like improving their ability to get intelligence on like what other companies are doing, or navigate the space, or maybe get government grants. So like there's all these other gaps that I'm identifying that we could serve for the founders. So it's kind of fun playing in this space where there's a lot happening, and as also being part of this veteran ecosystem. So yeah, it's a long answer too, but yeah.
No, it's great. It's obviously a needed service for founders to get access to this and to have someone that can put together. I think what you talked about before is a toolbox, right? A toolbox for founders to be successful for veteran founders to be successful in the space, because it's a complicated world out there, and things are changing all the time, and to be able to navigate it for one person to know all that is probably next to impossible. But being able to use AI based tools to help to have that toolbox for founders is going to be, again, just the time savings of not having to figure it out on your own. To have those tools is going to be massive. And again, I think what are you most excited about, like what's in the hopper that you're working, or if you can say, like, anything that's like right now that's like firing you up the most?
I think just to I'll answer that. But what you said is the tools. I think what you're saying is a lot of startups fail. It's a space where But I think what it is there's a lot of knowledge gaps and a lot of things people just don't know about, right? And if they do have the right tools, I think the failure rate can go down, because it's like it's just like this. Even like me, I've learned so much in a couple of weeks, and that's what fires me up. Is really learning and seeing the AI boom. It's meeting people. That's what's really firing me up. It's more of the learning and the people. I mean, we are building an app. It is cool, but really, it's like just doing cool things. Like, I feel like I'm doing so many cool things. Like, I'm going to go to this veteran VC event in like New York. Like, I was in Idris's offices this week, A16Z, like for a veteran vets and tech pitch event, which was awesome. So it's just like being in the space, learning from other people, sharing the knowledge. That's been the fun of it. It's really been a lot of fun. So, and then also, just like, and now working with really cool companies too. Like I just did a campaign with Notion, and they're doing like a conference too. Like, but it's just fun to be in the space, be in the heart of the AI boom, and as well as serve veterans. It's just been awesome. So,
that's awesome. No, I mean, I'm obviously part of the ecosystem as well on the hiring side, and it is great. I mean, it's great to be able to give back and hopefully, help folks that are transitioning have a smoother path, because it's confusing out there. It's certainly, when you're leaving the military, there's no guarantees, and a lot of people are scared because you do get somewhat institutionalized, or a lot of people do. I think they get very comfortable in the world of the military, and how do you get out of it, and not only get out of it but thrive in it, but having mentors and having a roadmap and being able to see that other people did it, I think is so helpful. That's why I love doing the podcast, because it truly, I say this all the time, everybody's journey is different. Your path is unique and very different, but it got you to a place where you are, set up to help veterans potentially at scale and do some really cool things, which is awesome. And again, it's fun to be in part of that space. And again, I think everyone can learn from all of our stories that, hey, we did it, you can do it too. Don't feel like you have to, it's not necessarily a linear path to get anywhere, right? You have to kind of put yourself out there. You have to you can't be afraid to fail. You have to network and just start talking to a lot of people and, all these ideas, and hopefully over time it'll give you that direction. But it could be you're going to run into walls, but you have to figure out how to navigate that and keep on swimming, and it is fun to be in the space for sure. No doubt. Well, as we kind of get ready to wrap up a little bit here, I mean, what would you, I guess, any words of wisdom for veterans that want to get into the space you're in now? If you want to be a founder, if you want to get into the space, what would you recommend, thoughts, for them to be successful? Especially if you're direct transitioning, a lot of folks we talk to are transitioning veterans. Some have been out for a while, but what advice would you share with folks that are interested in getting in the space?
Yeah, I would say, so my friend Nick Coe, he has this tool called Veteran Timeline, and it's basically you join the app and it gives you like a to-do list of like all the programs. He's basically trying to aggregate and create a tool that gives you all the different veteran programs out there. So there's so many programs on like executive coaching that's free, like mentorship for a year. There's service to school. There's I think that, I don't know if Bunker Labs is still a thing, but there's so many great programs where I would say, as a vet, go out, meet people, ask for advice, ask for help, just talk to a lot of people, because that's how I got to where I'm at, is just like showing up, going to things. Like, even the one guy right now, like the friend, the Navy friend I have, that he just literally came to SF and just started showing up to events and just started meeting people. And that's literally what it is. It's just going, I would say if you're really interested in VC or in startups or AI, like just move to SF or come to SF for a month and go to as many events as you can go to and just learn about the space by just going to stuff and doing things. So like that's what I would recommend, because it's, and then going to hackathons, going to like panels, like different events, just to learn about the space. And if you're a military veteran, startup conference is great. We're having a defense and dual use conference coming up if you're interested in that type of stuff. And yeah, I would just show up and see where you can plug in, or even just reach out to people on LinkedIn. So
that's it. Hey, be present, show up. I make the joke. There's a 1-letter difference between networking and not working. So you better be networking, or you're probably going to be not working. So get out there and network.
Totally agree.
People, be present, show up, get to San Francisco, which seems to be the hub of a lot of this stuff, and pretty easy to get tied in, but great stuff. Well, hey, Dev, thank you so much for the time today. Truly appreciate it. It's great to be on the Bigger Context team, and love what you have in the works and what you're doing to help out those veterans that want to get in this space, and can't wait to see what comes next for you. So thanks for being on the show today.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. For more content, follow us on Instagram @TheMilitaryVet or on LinkedIn. Join us at an upcoming event or learn more on our website, TheMilVet.org. Feel free to email us directly at leadership@TheMilVet.org. Thank you so much and take care.